The prison is alive, not with the clatter of inmates or the shouts of guards, but with whispers, with cries, with the sound of things that should no longer exist. This was once a fortress of iron and stone, meant to contain America's most violent men. Murderers, rapists, monsters. Many died here, executed, murdered, or driven mad within its walls. But their stories did not end. They linger, trapped, waiting. Visitors report footsteps echoing behind them when the corridors are empty. Doors slam shut with no one near. Lights flicker, then die, plunging halls into suffocating blackness. Paranormal investigators capture screams on recorders, screams that match no living voice. Yet among all these tales, one stands apart. A cell feared even by the guards themselves, a place no inmate would enter willingly, a space where death was not the end, but only the beginning. What happened there remains one of the darkest mysteries in American prison history, and tonight you're about to hear it. The prison stands in Pennsylvania, a looming fortress of stone and steel. Built in the early 1800s, its walls were meant to break men. Its design was revolutionary for its time, a place of silence and isolation, where inmates faced their own madness in solitary cells. Locals called it a penitentiary, a house of repentance. But over time, it became something else entirely. The community around it learned to live with the constant hum of despair. Families raised children in its shadow. Merchants thrived off the guards and staff. To outsiders, it was simply a prison. To those nearby, it was a monster sleeping in the middle of town. Whispers of strange sights began long before the prison closed. Neighbors swore they saw shadows pacing behind barred windows. Strange cries carried into the night air, even when death row stood empty. But the true horror was not outside. It was locked behind thick iron doors, trapped in crumbling corridors, waiting in the darkness for anyone brave or foolish enough to step inside. And when the prison finally shut down, its silence did not bring peace. It only made the voices louder. At first glance, the prison functioned like any other. Guards followed strict routines. Inmates marched in silence. The community outside carried on with life. To visitors, it seemed controlled, even ordinary. Inside, the warden spoke proudly of his methods. Solitary confinement was seen as progress, a way to reform broken men. Each prisoner kept in silence, alone, with nothing but the weight of their sins pressing in on them. The guards believed discipline would keep the darkness in check. For a time, it did, but cracks soon appeared. Some inmates whispered about hearing voices in empty cells. Others reported seeing figures pacing at night, men who weren't really there. Guards dismissed it as tricks of the mind, stress, isolation, madness. Yet the fear in their eyes told a different story. Even the most hardened killers began to tremble in certain wings. They refused to sleep, staring at the corners of their cells as if something waited there. It was the calm before the storm, the illusion of control before the chaos. And once the first crack split open, there would be no turning back. The first real signs could not be ignored. Guards began reporting strange occurrences, keys vanishing from their belts, chains rattling in empty corridors, the sound of heavy boots pacing right beside them, though no one was there. They tried to laugh it off, but fear crept in. Prisoners fared worse. Some begged to be moved, claiming dark figures visited their cells at night. They spoke of hands reaching through the bars, whispering voices calling their names. A few refused food, muttering prayers until their throats went dry. One inmate gouged words into the stone wall. "The devil walks here." The warden dismissed it as hysteria. Solitary confinement, he said, was playing tricks on weak minds. But when seasoned guards, men who had faced riots and executions, refused to step foot in certain wings, the rumors spread like fire. Locals whispered that the prison was cursed, that the cruelty inflicted inside its walls had awakened something that could not be chained. And as the shadows grew bolder, the prison's darkest night crept closer. It happened without warning. One stormy night, thunder rattled the iron bars and the prison descended into chaos. Guards reported screams erupting from every wing at once, dozens of men shrieking in terror, pounding against the doors of their cells. But when the guards rushed to investigate, the halls were empty, silent, except for one cell. Inside, a prisoner lay twisted on the floor, his body contorted, his face frozen in a mask of pure horror. No wounds, no blood, but his eyes, wide open, staring as if he had seen something beyond human comprehension. The other inmates swore they heard it too, a low growl echoing through the halls, a shadow slipping under the doors, chains snapping from walls. Guards later confessed they felt an icy presence grip their throats, choking them in the darkness. And then came the cell, the cursed one. Its door slammed shut with such force that the hinges bent. No one dared to open it until morning. When they finally did, what they found inside would haunt them forever. The morning brought no answers, only dread. The body from the cursed cell was removed, but the terror lingered. Guards whispered about claw marks gouged deep into the stone walls, marks no human fingernails could have made. Some swore they saw smoke rising from the cracks, curling like breath in the cold. The warden demanded silence. He told the men to forget what they saw. But rumors spilled into the town. Soon investigators and reporters arrived, determined to expose the truth. Cameras malfunctioned the moment they entered, tapes filled with static, batteries drained in seconds. And yet, some captured whispers, murmurs in voices that belonged to no one living. Psychics were called. One collapsed in the cursed cell, gasping for air, clawing at her throat as if unseen hands were strangling her. She later muttered, trembling, "It doesn't want to leave." The prison shut its doors not long after, but closure did not bring peace. For the town, for the guards, for the walls themselves, the nightmare remained. And one final discovery would ensure the legend of America's most haunted prison could never die. Decades have passed, but the prison has never slept. Tourists now walk its ruined halls, guided by flashlights that barely pierce the darkness. Many leave shaken. Some refuse to speak of what they felt. Shadows still dart across the walls. Doors still slam without warning. Cold hands still brush against skin. And the cursed cell? It remains locked, untouched, as if the very air around it warns intruders to stay away. Historians uncovered records of men who begged not to be housed there. Every one of them died violently, by suicide, by madness, or by sheer terror. No explanation, no escape. The walls themselves seem to breathe with their pain. Even now, paranormal teams report screams, captured on recorders. Some claim to hear their names whispered back in the dark. Others leave and never return. But the darkest truth has never been explained. The last prisoner who died in that cursed cell left a message scratched into the stone, his final words before his heart stopped. It read, "I was never alone."